Good afternoon. I'm George Latimer, Westchester County Executive. It is Monday, August 22nd, and welcome to our weekly Westchester update, where we'll cover a variety of issues, things that are on our agenda right now in Westchester County government. We hope it'll be interesting. We know that we have an interesting guest with us today. The Ossining Town Supervisor, Dana Levenberg, will be joining us, and she will be talking about the things that relate to the town of Ossining, which also encompasses the village of Ossining and the village of Briarcliff Manor. And as we do with each of these different updates, we invite our various municipal partners to join us here, village, town, and city representatives, to talk a little bit about their corner of Westchester County, so you get a little bit better idea of what's happening in the great diversity that makes up this county. Some of the topics we're going to cover today, we're going to give you an update on the HERO program, and that's HERRO program. It's a program where the county has tried to assist those who are volunteering as firefighters or volunteering in EMS with tuition support. You may remember we had a press conference at the Armonk Fire Department a few months ago to launch the program. Now we have a bit of a status report. We'll give you that today. I'm going to make sure that everybody understands the great honor that's been received by our Deputy County Executive, Ken Jenkins, in being named to chair an important subcommittee of the National Association of Counties, nationwide organization. It reflects recognition of Ken's leadership. We'll give you the update on both COVID and monkeypox. We'll talk about the vaccine process, both for COVID and then the general vaccinations that are now at hand, because we're very close to going back to school. We'll give you our usual parks update. We'll come down the home stretch of the summertime. I don't want to, give you breaking news, but within the next 2 weeks it'll be Labor Day. So we're very happy with what's happening at our parks and beaches and pools. So we'll cover that with you so you know what's happening there. We'll talk about some of the issues we're dealing with weather. Right now we've gone through a period of drought, and therefore there's a greater sensitivity to fire. It's kind of interesting because it was a year ago right now that we had Hurricane Henri come through, and that had an impact in Westchester. And then a few days after that, the even more devastating Hurricane Ida hit us on September 1st a year ago, and we won't forget that anytime soon. That's what happened a year ago. A year later now, we're suffering from a lack of rain, and so we'll cover some of those tips for you as well. And then, of course, we'll touch on tomorrow's primaries. So everybody who hasn't yet voted through early voting, we'll give you an idea of the statistics on early voting, and then we'll just go over what the lineup is for tomorrow so that you have a good idea. First, let's talk about all things Ossining. The town of Ossining, located on the Hudson River, sort of in the northwest corner of the county, is a famous community. People may know it because of its relationship to Sing Sing, the prison that has an historic presence in American history. When you were sent up the river, you were sent up the river to jail at Sing Sing. But Ossining, the village and the town, is much, much more than that. It's a beautiful upscale community. In round numbers, 39,000 people. It includes all of the village of Ossining, which is what you may think of if you don't live in the jurisdiction. But there's a village of Ossining, which is the downtown shopping area, the train station, and then the town outside the village of Ossining. And there is also a significant portion, about 3/4 of the village of Briarcliff Manor, which is also within the town of Ossining, and part of that is also in the town of Mount Pleasant. And the leader of that, the supervisor of that town, is Dana Levenberg. She has been active in government for many, many years. We got to know each other when she did work closely with Assemblywoman Sandy Galiff in a professional capacity. She's been on the Ossining Town Board, now is the supervisor of the town of Ossining. We're very happy to have her here to talk about whatever it is that's on our agenda for Ossining. So the supervisor of the town of Ossining, Dana Levenberg. Dana, thank you for being here.
Thanks so much, County Executive. We so appreciate the opportunity that you give all of the elected municipal officials to join you and to talk a little bit about our own municipalities. But also, I know that I speak on behalf of all of our local elected officials when I say we are grateful for your partnership, your leadership, which started very much, not your leadership, but certainly part of this type of partnership started as a response to COVID, but has blossomed and become so much more than that. And we all appreciate the opportunity to hear firsthand what is happening in and through the county and how all of our residents can benefit from these shared resources. So thank you, County Executive, and also congratulations to our Deputy County Executive, who happens to be here in the room today, on your well-deserved honor. We really appreciate knowing how you represent us so well. As many of you know, and as I was just introduced, I'm Ossining Town Supervisor, not to be confused with the mayor of the Village of Ossining. Ossining. I preside over the umbrella government of the municipalities. And Ossining has been my home for 3 decades almost. It's a very, very special place, and it's getting better all the time. Summer is an especially fun time to be in Ossining, and while Labor Day is just around the corner, I have lots to talk about that has happened over the course of the summer, as well as a few more remaining fun things. We kicked things off with the summer solstice with Make Music Day, and I think there's a picture in the slideshow of me taking a music lesson on the front steps of Village Town Hall with the owners of the local music school that organizes that event every year, and that's Mike Risco Music. We have developed a pretty happening art and music scene in Ossining, a lot of which gets highlighted during the First Friday initiative created by our local Chamber of Commerce and NU Builds, a grassroots community organization. They've also teamed up to create OssiningEvents.com, which is a really comprehensive guide to everything going on in Ossining. There's a cool app called AutoCast created by an Ossining resident that is set up to provide a guided tour of the First Friday crawl, so make sure that you check that out. That goes beyond the summertime. The popular Museum in the Streets tour, which takes one through Ossining history, has also been digitized using AutoCast. We also participated through Historic Hudson River Towns in a grant-funded project a couple of years ago that was tied into the Mario Cuomo Bridge to add an Ossining history tour to the Travel Story app, which Dana White, now our Village of Ossining trustee, and our own town historian, Scott Craven, teamed up to create content that allows visitors and residents alike to learn a little bit about the history of our important spaces here in Ossining, as County Executive referred to, as well as Briarcliff, as you walk, bike, or drive through. I encourage everyone to use these resources to see everything there is to do, and then come visit us. Ossining River Jam is a must-attend summer event. The town has partnered with the Greater Ossining Chamber of Commerce and some of our local businesses to turn our summer Friday night concert series into a music and food extravaganza. Each week, a selection of food trucks and local craft beverage purveyors come to Lewis Angle Waterfront Park on the beautiful banks of the Hudson River starting at 5 p.m., giving everyone some time to get some eats and settle in for a picnic before the music starts at 7 p.m. We've had some amazing acts come through thanks to our musical partners at Mike Risco Music and top-notch drinks courtesy of Sing Sing Kill Brewery and a rotating selection of brewers and cider makers at the Craft Beverage Corral. If you haven't been there, there are still 2 left for this summer, so come on down. I think we have tracks, and follow at Town of Ossining on Facebook or Instagram or visit townofossining.com/riverjam to get the details. We're super grateful to our first responders, and we heard a little bit about a project that's geared to them. We'll hear a little bit more about that in the update. And they stay close by to make sure that we can have all this fun safely. Ossining Police Department and Ossining Volunteer Ambulance Corps have been just incredible, and we've only taken 1 week off from River Jam to make way for our firefighters. The Ossining Volunteer Fire Department hosted their annual parade at the beginning of this month, along with a number of other fire companies throughout the region. They also won the grand prize at the convention parade recently, and we are so proud of them. Our local Little League teams are another source of #OPride. Our 12U tournament team won the District 33 championship. As town supervisor, a lot of the work that I do is focused on enabling and protecting all of these wonderful people and pastimes that we hold dear. We've completed a number of road improvements and other capital projects recently, making our town roads safer. The town of Ossining has over 130 acres of parkland, and our Parks Department is always hard at work improving it. Most recently, we've been working with the New York-New Jersey Trail Conference on a new trail connector at Ryder Park, which connects an existing cross-country trail to other park amenities and parking. And we spend a lot of time thinking about sustainability to preserve the things that we love for future generations. During my tenure, Ossining has become a clean energy community, and we're making progress toward reducing our carbon footprint. We take every opportunity to reduce carbon emissions that we can, and recently we adopted Sunrise Westchester's Youth Climate Action demands. We continue to expand our food scrap recycling, opt into 100% green community choice aggregation through Sustainable Westchester, expand electric vehicles in our municipal fleet, adopt the New York Stretch Building Code, pass legislation to make it easier to site right-sized solar and battery energy storage projects in the town, and ultimately prepare ourselves for further electrification and support of that with green electricity generation and storage. As a river town, we're also being proactive about building resiliency to protect our residents from rising waters. A little while back, Ossining won a large grant from the Department of Environmental Conservation in New York State to design a resilient shoreline. We're working with the Village of Ossining and a team from the engineering and design firm HDR to engage the public in this design process. Our goals are stabilizing the shoreline as water levels rise and improving its functionality as a habitat for native plants and animals, while also increasing access and connections to the waterfront from the village and the town. If you're interested in seeing the story map of the design features, you can go to greenossining.org, our virtual hosts. It's an ambitious project, but one of the best things about living in and leading a town like Ossining is the opportunity to take on this kind of work with so many wonderful partners. This is in addition to making our diverse community more resilient as well in the face of inequity, whether environmental or social. At a time when we all are reflecting on how we can, in our own spheres of influence, make changes that positively impact those who have suffered disproportionately for generations, our Ossining Community Equity Task Force is working to educate our various appointed boards about how decisions they make every day should be considered through the lens of equity. Thank you again to County Executive Latimer for your continued partnership and all the municipalities in the county, and for giving me a little time to speak today. And to anyone listening, if you haven't been to Ossining lately, come on down and visit us. This Friday, you got a great concert to look forward to. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Dana.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. It's Dana Levenberg, who is the town supervisor of Ossining, and great public official, and we look forward to working with you in the future, whatever the future may hold. We want to talk about some of the different programs that we have at hand, and I'm going to skip around a little bit from my predetermined order, because I would like, as we get started, to recognize my partner in this effort, Ken Jenkins, who's been Deputy County Executive. We go back to the very first day of this administration. Ken's agreement to serve as Deputy County Executive was the very first decision that I made, the first person that I asked to serve this administration. His responsibilities are second to no one in the administration. He's tackled many different projects and successfully so. And of course, he has in his own rightful career shown leadership as chairman of the Westchester County Board of Legislators, served in the legislature for a number of years, and he has a past background inside major corporations here at Arthur Anderson, Apple, and so forth. So he brings quite a bit of leadership into this team. And just recently at the annual conference of the National Association of Counties out in Colorado, the president, Denise Winfrey, asked Ken to serve as chair for the Transit Rail Subcommittee of NACO's Transportation Steering Committee. This is for the nationwide counties all across the United States. And to ask Ken to take on this kind of responsibility, in addition to his current responsibilities, is really a statement about his leadership and his skill set. And so he has been recognized as well in NISAC and other organizations with leadership beyond just the county. And, you know, a person might not know that living in Westchester County, that within the professional responsibilities of governing a county, that Ken now has this opportunity and responsibility. So I'm going to ask him to explain what it is that he's doing, but we all owe him a congratulatory note for this appointment. Ken, congratulations.
Thank you.
And please let us all know what you're going to be doing.
Thank you so much, George. And it's great having the team back together on this particular opportunity. It certainly is a privilege for me to serve in this particular position, to be asked by President Winfrey to serve on this National Associations of Counties NACO Transportation Steering Committee. The Transportation Steering Committee works to shape policy on all the matters related to federal transportation legislation, funding, and regulation, and its impacts on the county governments, including highway and bridge development, finance and safety, public transit development and finance, transportation planning, airport development and service, passenger and freight, railways, ports, and waterways, freight movement, and research and development of new modes of transportation. Certainly, it impacts us in Westchester County because as we are in the state of New York, and the things that we have happening here in Westchester County, again, serving on behalf of the New York State Association of Counties and for County of Westchester, this is an honor and a privilege. NACO, for folks that don't know, the National Associations of County represents over 40,000 elected officials, county elected officials, and includes over 3,000 counties around the United States. And 3.6 million county employees. So when we are able to have this kind of advocacy as far as transportation is concerned, specifically as we change and we move into new different modalities to make sure that we have things like micro hubs that happen around transit-oriented design, and the things that we have going on certainly at the county airport. This is an opportunity for us to continue to show Westchester's leadership, and it's a privilege for me on behalf of the county executive and Westchester County to be able to serve in this particular role. I'm looking forward to this, working with my colleagues around the country, and certainly the ones in New York State, Steve Aquario and Marta Sauderberry, to be our president in New York State Association of Counties. And I'm hoping to work with someone that we have on our team, that the county executive Latimer brought in as well, who is also another transportation leader, and that's Joan McDonald. I'm going to lean on all of the expertise that she has leading the Bridge Authority for the state of New York, and certainly all of the experience she had as Transportation Commissioner of the state of New York. We'll be able to bring all those things back here to Westchester to make things happen much better for the people of Westchester. So thanks a lot, George.
Thank you, Ken. Again, congratulations on this. And I'd just like to make a general point. I know we've got substantive things I want to cover today, but 5 years ago, when I ran for the position of county executive, I had served in my public career as a state senator and assemblyman and other legislative positions. And someone asked me at one of the candidate meet and greets, what prepares you to be an executive to run a government when your experience has been legislative experience and you haven't managed many more people? And I said, well, you need to look outside of my resume that's public. You need to see the private resume and what I did in the private sector as a subsidiary, an executive subsidiary with Nestle and ITT and some of the places. And I posited at the time, and I believe this is one more example of this, the single most important thing that an executive can do, and it doesn't matter in the public domain if you're the mayor, the governor, whatever you are, president, or in the private sector, whatever level of executive responsibility you have, is to identify and select capable people who can run component pieces of whatever your entity is, that can do so because they themselves have the skill set and the drive and the will, that you give them clear direction and that there's an agreed upon understanding of what you want to accomplish. But it is not the leadership of any one person that does it. I think sometimes in politics or government, if you will, that is a mistaken thought, that the uber leader leads us all to greatness because of their individual greatness, when in fact it is always a solid team. When you see the municipal officials come here week after week after week, Peter Shearer last week, Dana Levenberg this week, Brian Pugh before that, and others, I'm showing you the leadership that exists at the villages, the town, and the city levels of this county. It is not one person that leads the county government that governs all of these things. The leadership that Dana and these other people have individually is an important element. And when I think of the most important things I've done in this job, I think back on being able to convince Ken Jenkins to take on the responsibilities as being deputy county executive. He actually took a pay cut in order to be deputy county executive because of his corporate level of compensation. John Nona, our county attorney, was partner of a major law firm in New York City. He took a pay cut to become county attorney, significant pay cut. People think when they see the price tag, oh my God, you're paying this much. That's 1/3 of what a person like John Nona was making in the private sector. Or Joan McDonald, who was a state-level commissioner in the state of Connecticut in economic development, and a state-level commissioner's Department of Transportation. I think perhaps the best job I've done is to convince people of that skill set to take their skills and to apply them here in Westchester County. Consider our communications department. You see the end product of the communications. You see what we post on social media. You see, if you're in the media, the press releases we have, these videos and the clippings that we do. Catherine Chaffee, former on-air executive with WCBS 880 Radio. Carolyn Fortino with FiOS News at the anchor desk and a reporter. Lisa Reyes, you know, from News 12, and she's had other assignments around the country. Joe Scamato, who performed a similar function for the Board of Legislators before becoming part of our team. Chelsea Picano and John Bush. Just that team of 6 people and what they're capable of doing, communicating to you so that you understand what it is we're doing and done professionally. It is my job to pull that together in this moment and in other moments, but Ken is being recognized for his individual leadership, and it's the individual leadership of Joe Spano in corrections, of Michael Orth in mental health, of Dr. Charlita Amler in the health department, of Kathy O'Connor in the parks department, Vince Kapicki in the Department of Environmental Facilities, and right on down the line. That is what represents, I think, an important statement about Westchester County's government. Now, we're going to talk about issues to go forward. They are problematic issues. They still have to be resolved. There's no guarantee, as in baseball, if you've just played a good series in Philadelphia, you come home to New York and you have to play another good series. It's not automatic, and nothing is automatic in government. But I'm proud that Ken Jenkins has been recognized, and I'm proud of John Nona, and I'm proud of Joan McDonald, because they're part of this administration, but they are in and of themselves outstanding individuals, and that should be understood by everybody out there in the viewing audience. So let's talk about the HERO program, HERRO. There's 2 R's. That stands for Higher Education Recruitment and Retention Opportunity Program. And what this program does is opens the door financially to assist those people who have agreed and have been serving in a voluntary role in our volunteer fire departments and our EMS departments. Volunteer, they can't be compensated for them, but to give them an incentive to show how much we appreciate their involvement and their sacrifice by serving us in ways that are very profound, putting out a fire and perhaps saving our lives in a moment of crisis, a car accident, a heart attack. These people are serving this population. They're doing it voluntarily. So what the HERO program does, we announced this, as I said, a few months ago. Commissioner Richard Wishney, Deputy Commissioner Susan Spear, and a number of other people within our emergency services program devised this program where we take a certain amount of resources, we put them aside to assist those volunteers who are advancing their education to get up to $6,000 a year in tuition reimbursement or student loan repayment. And that incentive is something that they would not normally get as a volunteer, but it gives them the ability to move on with their educational studies and to do so while they're still serving us. And we think that's a very important situation. So with all of that, we now have had so far over 50 successful applicants for grant money through the HEROES program, and we've dispersed in the vicinity of $250,000 to assist those 50 individuals in advancing their education. And this is how we have practically tried to deal with a very simple problem. And I'm sure Dana Levenberg, as a town supervisor, and other local officials will tell you they have trouble being able to attract and retain volunteers in those services that they provide, where volunteers are important. In some fire departments, you have all volunteer departments. In some, there are combination departments where you have a certain number of paid members, but you also have the volunteer force to supplement them as necessary to deal with a problem of a certain magnitude, or multiple problems that may happen in a jurisdiction at the same time. And then, of course, our EMS system, which is very much a patchwork quilt of different situations in different communities. In some communities, the EMS function is done through the fire department of a major city, and those are paid, structured services that are provided. In some cases, there are volunteer services that are separate from the local government. In some cases, there's an amalgam. The OVAC of Ossining or the SVAC of Scarsdale are one examples, and there are other examples out there. But this program, we're very excited to see that there was such an immediate response, and the applications exceeded the number of grantees, and the fact that there are over 50 recipients so far under this program is very exciting for us. Now, keep in mind that for the individuals to access the program, they have to earn credit hours from an accredited college, university, trade school, or a highly focused training program, and they have to provide transcripts so that this is not just what you say, but it has to be backed up with specific information. You must maintain a grade point average of 2.0 or better on a scale of 4.0. I guess that's at least a C average or above. You got to maintain that in order to continue to get these benefits, and that the reimbursement money that you're entitled to can be utilized for on-campus or distance learning tuition costs, but other things such as books, school fees are not eligible for reimbursement. So this doesn't cover anything. It covers very targeted the tuition that you would be responsible for. There's still time for applications to be received. We have the website, I believe it'll be up on a graphic, www.hero with 2 R's, .westchestergov.com. And if you fall into this category, or somebody that you know falls into this category, investigate the program, look at what is involved in the application, and we hope that you'll consider whether or not this program can be helpful to you. We think it can be, and we think it's going to be a helpful tool for us, not the only tool that we need to try to retain our important volunteers across the county. And many of these volunteers are not serving a county government structure. They're serving a municipal structure. But if we're going to be true partners, as we just said with Dana a few minutes ago, we have to put county resources out there to complement those resources that are happening locally. So we're very happy that this program is off to the races. I want to give you an update on where we are with the 2 major health issues that we're monitoring, and we'll touch on a third one that's been discussed. I'll ask Ken Jenkins to join me here at the podium. First of all, with our continuing COVID circumstances, we're approaching at the end of this month the completion of 2.5 years of having COVID as part of our world. We have certainly seen a sufficient diminution in the spread of the disease to warrant us having as normal a summer as we had hoped for. And when we talk in a second about our recreational programs, our pools, our parks, our beaches remained open. We continued Bicycle Sunday through the end of September. We're reestablishing it again through the end of July. We're reestablishing that at the beginning of September again. And most importantly, our ethnic festivals have come back. This past weekend, our Jewish Heritage Festival, upcoming our Muslim Heritage Festival, and we've had a host of other ones this year. We've been able to reestablish closer to a normal functioning summertime, given the fact that COVID is still amongst us, still with us. In terms of the hard numbers, we have looked at the number of active cases. They have been dropping through the month of August, and I think we expect that because the weather is good. People are outside. It's less communicable disease, airborne. When you're outside, there's natural distancing, and the ventilation is obviously wide open. As of our Sunday end-of-day situation, we had 2,033 active cases of coronavirus. 2,033, and that compares 1 month prior on July 21st to having 3,581 cases. So that's a good drop from 3,500 active cases to 2,000 active cases. Our infection rate over the last few days has hovered around 7%. That is down over what was double-digit infection rates earlier in the summertime. And infection rates would be 100 people get tested. 7% of them have been infected, so that's 7 out of 100 tested positive, 93 tested negative. That number was closer to 11 and 12% a month ago, 2 months ago, and we were concerned that if that number continued to rise, we would see a rise in number of active cases. We have not seen that happen at this point. We don't know what variants may be lurking around the corner, but it's an encouraging bit of news. And just to put it into some perspective, the last time we had as few as 2,000 active cases, it was the first week of April. And we had a surge in the month of April from that point where the numbers continued to rise, where we had double the number of cases that we have now right around Memorial Day. So if we have 2,000, 2,500 cases a couple of days ago, we had 5,000 cases around Memorial Day. So that was a height. When we talk about a month ago, 3,500 cases, that was on the way down from a peak of about 5,000. Nothing compares to the peak that we had during Omicron around the holiday season this past year when we had 36,000 active cases at one point. So now we're talking 2,000 active cases. But it is a good sign that COVID is with us, but we seem to be managing it as well as we can. We will take no particular victory lap because you never know what's going to happen next, and we have to be just sober and thoughtful. We've been able to manage this process over the summer without any mandates, no mandated requirements for vaccinations or masking, but still prudent behavior. And I think people who feel the comfort zone of wearing a mask do so in society. No one holds a negative for them for doing that. And we still have had quite a lot of public meetings on virtual platforms, so to reduce the amount of interpersonal reactions in those settings, and all of that, I think, contributes to a good scene. We'll see where we stand next week, where we stand the week after that as we give you this weekly update report, and we'll look back over month and year and determine if we're making progress. But I'd say right now, in terms of COVID, we're comfortable. We're making some progress. Ken will talk in a little bit about some of the vaccination situations. Monkeypox has come into our consciousness over the last 2-3 months. It is a different type of disease. COVID is an airborne transmission. You don't have to be in touching contact with another person. Monkeypox is a skin-to-skin situation, and so it's a little bit harder to transfer, but we've seen an outbreak that started with just a handful of cases, and at most recent point we had a total, since the beginning of the appearance of monkeypox, 75 individuals in Westchester County have come down with a case of monkeypox. Now, the number of active cases are those individuals who have gotten the disease over the last 3 weeks. With COVID, we talk about a 10-day period from infection to having it resolved in your antibodies, your systems. With monkeypox, it's a 14 to 21-day period of leaving the disease. So now we know that we've got about 40 individuals that have an active case of monkeypox in Westchester County. Out of a total of 75, pandemic to date, but 40 active cases right now. Obviously, that number pales in comparison to 2,000, which is the number of active COVID cases. Gives you an idea of the transmission situation. But for those that are vulnerable to monkeypox, who are in circumstances, certain social circles where the disease can spread, we have made an aggressive effort to vaccinate. I think we've had already over 1,700 monkeypox vaccinations at our clinics, including the ones we've done with the Loft, and we will continue to do those administrators of vaccinations going forward. Again, I'll leave that for Ken to just touch on. The third thing to just mention very briefly is polio. We know that a case of polio was discovered in Rockland County a few weeks ago. That singular case of the individual was infected overseas, and at this point we've had no other cases of polio detected. It is important to note that the polio vaccine, which was standard operating procedure when it came out in the 1950s, and I got my shot as a little kid. I don't think I wanted to have the shot, but all of us did, and now it is a standard part of the back-to-school protocol, and there's a host of other things that you're vaccinated for, MMR and so forth, that it basically eradicated polio. However, there are some individuals when they reach adult years, if they weren't vaccinated as a child, that are still unvaccinated to polio, and that's where the jeopardy is right now. As the medical professionals tell us, if you are not vaccinated for polio, you have about a 1 in 200 chance of getting the disease. You may say that's a small percentage. It is, but it is high enough percentage to risk potential paralysis. We all know the story of Franklin Delano Roosevelt, who contracted polio in his late 30s and was paralyzed for the rest of his life. And that is not a fate that anyone would wish. So we don't see it as an outbreak worthy of day-to-day tracking, but we think it's important to note if you are not vaccinated for polio, you should be vaccinated for polio, and that is long since past the point of any debate or controversy in the society. Whatever the debate over COVID has been, the debate over polio has long since been resolved, and so we encourage you to do that. We understand there have been some traces of polio in the wastewater systems. I'm not sure if we've seen it in Westchester. I wouldn't be surprised if we did, because we're a county of 1 million people. It has been detected in New York City waste streams, as was in Rockland County, but the detection of it does not mean that it's a widespread infection. That is determined by the number of active cases, of which there was 1 case of polio in Rockland County. So again, just to summarize, the news on COVID is cases have been coming down over the course of the month of August. Good news. Let's hope that continues as a spread. We have 40 active cases of monkeypox, and we have an aggressive vaccination program going on, which will treat monkeypox if you're vaccinated in proper time. Monkeypox has not been seen as a fatal disease. COVID can be, but has been much less fatal for those who are vaccinated. And we're moving forward trying to keep you healthy as best as we can. With that in mind, Ken will cover some of the vaccination protocols that we have that continue on as they have all summer long. Ken?
Thanks, George. For Our children, specifically children's ages 6 months to 5 years old, and certainly for all the folks that are eligible, which is everyone at this point in time for COVID vaccination, the county health department's continuing to offer free pediatric Moderna COVID-19 vaccines by appointment for children ages 6 months to 5 years old throughout the summer from 9 a.m. to noon on Fridays at the County Center Clinic, or the County Clinic in White Plains at 134 Court Street. Again, you are required to have an appointment for those. It's not just walk-in specifically for our pediatric Moderna vaccinations for COVID-19. And we know that children can and do get COVID-19, and unfortunately, some become very sick. Monkeypox, as the county executive was pointing out, is a little different as far as the impact, but it's still a painful thing with monkeypox. With COVID, we know people have passed away and certainly can travel and carry it throughout other family members. And specifically, as we're going into the school year, the school year and pre-K and nursery kind of opportunities. So again, for those children 6 months to 5 years old, and in child care scenarios, it is a 2-shot regimen that has to be given 28 days apart. So again, it's an opportunity to have those free pediatric Moderna vaccinations for COVID-19 on Fridays. And take a look at the county website. They're certainly available at other agencies as well. Your local pediatrician has them available as well. In our neighborhood health centers, our federally qualified health centers are also doing that. Again, make sure to take a look at the county website at health.westchestergov.com, and we have links to those various opportunities for COVID-19, not just only for our pediatric vaccinations, but for everyone that's eligible. And please keep track as there still continues to be modifications. As the county executive has pointed out and has been careful as far as the language is concerned and how we talk about these different things, whether it's not just boosters, it's the 3rd shot or the 4th shot, and there's going to be those modifications and updates for the variants of the COVID-19 vaccinations, and as well as different types of things that are available from a medical perspective to help address COVID-19 and the flu shots. But as we talk about that and going back into school, we want to make sure, as the county executive pointed out earlier, that all of us, when we went to school, had to have, before we could be enrolled in any school, we would need to have a set of vaccinations, the general vaccinations, the MMR, measles, mumps, and rubella, the polio ones for the folks that are in the ages as we are. We would have had that shot that looks like there's 5 or 6 shots that were given at one time. Well, that's those vaccinations that are necessary. So we are at that opportunity now for back to school vaccinations for flu, for children's ages 6 months or older. You have to have, for children registering to school, 14 days prior to school starting. So within 14 days prior to school starting, you need to make sure that you have those vaccination series completed. So in your specific school districts, they may have a requirement for COVID-19 as well. So you need to check locally with that particular thing. But for the general vaccinations, measles, mumps, rubella, polio, and all the other things that we have in that set of series, make sure to schedule those appointments and get those done. Parents and guardians of children must show that they have made those appointments for that vaccination as well as the follow-up doses within 30 days of the start of school. Again, the worst thing that can happen for a young person, they get into their school scenario, and then they have to have their follow-up shots and vaccinations done, and we don't have that proof, and now that young person is getting pulled out the classroom. That is not a scenario that we would like to see for those young people. So take this opportunity. Make sure if there's a set of vaccinations that are required, you get those and schedule those up. And we have those happening at the county center, the county clinic at 134 Court Street by appointment only. There's not walk-ins for those general vaccinations at all. We are going to start doing those on August 26th. And then we also have basically every Friday in September the 9th, the 16th, the 23rd, and the 30th from 9 to 2 p.m. again at the 134 Court Street location by appointment only, no walk-ins. Make sure to call to register. You can call 914-995-5800. But also, you can look at the website and go from there and be able to click the appropriate links that the communications team is putting up on the screen for you to be able to get those general vaccinations. And again, for as much debate has been about COVID-19, as county executive has pointed out, we have these series of vaccinations that basically everyone has been required to take for many, many, many years. So let's get this done for our young folks so that they can have an outstanding school year as we move forward. Thanks, George.
Thanks very much, Ken. We'll give you a quick update on our parks, recreational facilities. We try to give you an idea over the summertime how well we're doing, and we've done very, very well in almost all or across the board parks. We've seen an increase in visitors and participants at our various pools at Tibbetts, Saxon Woods, Sprain Pool as well. Wilson Woods Pool actually had an increase in attendance this week over a week ago by year. Year to date, all of the other ones are well ahead of where we were, and in the aggregate, more Westchester residents have enjoyed our 4 open and operative pools. Playland Pool is still undergoing a reconstruction as we speak. Our 2 beaches are well over last year's as well, Glen Island and Croton Point Park. Playland Beach is no longer part of the county's inventory. That is managed through Playland Amusement Park and Standard Amusements. And our golf courses continue to have record efforts. We have 2 golf courses in Yonkers, Dunwoody and Sprain Lake. We have 2 on the Sound Shore, Maplemore and Saxon Woods, and we have Mohansick and Hudson Hills in the northern part of the county. Every single one of them outperformed in 22 what they did in 21, and year to date are at or slightly below, but very comparative with what we did a year ago. A year ago, without the benefit of certain things being open, golf was one of the few recreations that was open, and now, of course, you've got the diversity of things out there, but all very, very good in general terms. We want to highlight that we are going through a period of drought, and we are all in a very close watch now to determine just how much water we need to have in order to get through our drinking requirements and responsibilities, and also importantly as a fire suppression agent. The weather overview shows that there is a frontal system that's moving through the area. It's scattered with various downpours and isolated thunderstorms. It is not a source, however, of the steady rainfall that we need to make up what we have lost over the time, because we're basically bone dry throughout this region of the country, not just New York State alone, but many of our neighboring states. The New York State Department of Environmental Conservation has declared a high fire danger warning for Westchester County and most of the rest of the state. This is the second highest fire danger level. We're at a very high risk for fire. When you have scorched ground or parched ground and trees that have not had significant water, then the leaves and the bark of the tree become much more susceptible to fire. And if a fire does in fact break out, then it can spread much more easily. Now, we've seen around the world wildfires, northern New Mexico, California, and other places. We don't usually attach that to Westchester County, certainly, or to New York State, but the continual absence of rain has created a more dangerous situation. So you must be very, very careful as you go about your business to make sure that you don't inadvertently start a fire that could wind up causing something to get out of control and become dynamic. There are some very clear barbecue safety tips. I am not the world's greatest barbecue expert, but some very simple things. Propane and charcoal barbecue grills should be used only outdoors. There's certain fumes that come out of that which could kill you if you keep them in an enclosed area. You don't realize that you're breathing in things that could be fatal. You make sure the grill is pushed away from your main building. It seems like common sense things, but people always try to work around the edges of these things. It's something that makes it more convenient for them, but they keep the potential for there to become a fire. You have to keep the grill clean by removing grease, prevent any of the buildup of that on grill gates or grates, I should say, or in trays below the grill. Never leave a working grill unattended. I'm sure my mother wrote these things down, and they found their way into my notes for today. But all of these things are important. Make sure that the gas grill lid is open before you light it. And when you're finished with a charcoal grill, let the coals completely cool before dispensing of them in a metal container. Place the container away from the house and any dry brush. We also have some fire pit safety recommendations. We'll provide these for you online so that you can see them. But it's important to understand that you have to make sure that you follow these protocol things, because the least little spark can create a fire, and in these kind of conditions, that fire can burn potentially out of control and cause great degree of damage to property and potentially loss of life. Camping safety tips are also out there, where you want to build your campfires and how you want to take care of it and maintain it properly. All good advice. We hope you be mindful of that. If you don't go online at westchestergov.com to look for it in the general information that you'll find on the internet, fire safety tips, and please pay attention to all of those things so we don't have any tragedies here in Westchester County. We'll repeat that we've got a couple of airport public hearings coming up. Tuesday, September 6th at the Chappaqua Performance Arts Center. Tuesday, September 13th at 7 p.m., different time, 7 p.m. on Tuesday the 13th at Harvest Time Church, which is on King Street. It is in Greenwich, Connecticut, although King Street borders between the town of Rye and the town of Greenwich, so it is fairly accessible. You're welcome to speak at both of these two public hearings. This will be our 5th and 6th hearings. One of them was virtual, to talk about the future of the county airport. We have generally gotten most testimony from people who live near the airport or underneath the flight path, who are aggrieved by the noise and the disruption to their lives of the airport. But this process is to discuss the future of the Westchester County Airport in very general terms, what we think the demand is going to be for the future, how do we manage that, how do we deal with our facilities there, the terminal, how do we handle issues that relate to general aviation, to the fixed-base operators, what we're doing to handle any environmental impacts, whether it's some de-icing fluid or cleanup PFAS pollution that dates back 30 years. There's a host of different issues here. Obviously, noise is the one that affects neighbors to the greatest extent. But this is a county of 1 million people, not just a limited number of people. So we want every voice to be heard and to have the opportunity to be heard. If you choose to be heard, you can do it in a number of different ways, but one of them is to come to these two public hearings, Tuesday, September 6th, Tuesday, September 13th. We also want you to put on the calendar a date that we will never forget as Americans, and that is September 11th. Sunday, September 11th, is when we will have our Westchester County annual memorial ceremony. It is scheduled for 3 p.m. at Kensico Dam Plaza in Valhalla. If you're accustomed to walking into Kensico Dam Plaza and the dam is in front of you, if you go off to the right, you will see an area where there is a sculpture, a sort of triangular sculpture. It looks like it evokes the outer skin of the World Trade Center. It's called The Rising, and it opened a number of years ago, and it was done through private funding under the leadership of County Executive Andy Spano. We have complemented that area and display, which lists the 103 names of Westchester residents whose lives were lost on 9/11, all of them lost in the World Trade Center. We have now put up a wall of remembrance as well for those individuals who have died from 9/11 related causes, who were first responders who went down to work on the pile and contracted diseases that cut their lives short. Unfortunately, we'll be adding more names to the wall as we see the sacrifice that continues to be made 21 years now after the original tragedy of 9/11. But that ceremony at 3 o'clock will happen for our purposes. Of course, they have ground zero remembrances at the time that the planes crashed in the morning. A number of communities have different ceremonies set up. White Plains usually does theirs at Liberty Park at 9 o'clock in the morning. We'll see one late at Connor Park and Yonkers, and then all in between, different communities at different times. It's important for us to honor those people that died that day, those who worked and sacrificed, the police, the firefighters, the EMS individuals, and then also the civilians that were trapped in an untenable situation that every one of us hopes will never come before us. And we think it's an important thing to remember. It's hard to keep in mind now that younger generations of Americans have grown up without this as a memory for themselves personally. If you graduated high school in the class of 2022 in the spring, you were not alive during the 9/11 incident. That is not a current event to you. That's something you've read about in history. So I think it's important for us to make sure that we remember this, and that ceremony will be toward that end. We have asked for those individuals to be recommended to us to include their names on the wall where we have lost neighbors and friends for 9/11 related illnesses. Some of those additional names are going up on the wall now and will be unveiled as part of the ceremonies that weekend. Finally, I want to highlight that we have on Tuesday, August 23rd, a primary statewide in New York State for seats in the Congress of the United States House of Representatives, and also in some selected state Senate races. It's a long story as to how we got here. We've never had an August primary before, I certainly think subjectively it's a terrible time to have a primary. This was court mandated, and so we have a primary on August 23rd. We've just completed 9 days of early voting. We're going to cover how well Westchester did in just a second. But if you have not voted early, and if you have not asked for and filled out an absentee ballot, you can still vote tomorrow, Tuesday, August 23rd. And the polls open at 6 a.m. They close at 9 p.m., sort of the standard times for the elections that we normally experience, the November elections and primaries that now are usually held in the month of June. So 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. at your local polling location. On the ballot will be congressional primaries in both the 16th and the 17th congressional district, and a state Senate primary in the 34th district here in Westchester County. Westchester County, through this new redistricting, has been divided in half on a north-south basis. Communities south of 287 are in Congressional District 16. Communities in Westchester County north of 287 are in Congressional District 17. And you have in District 17, a district that includes northern Westchester. The towns in the southernmost part of that district would be the town of North Castle, Mount Pleasant, Ossining, and then you go up to the northern tier from the city of Peekskill, the village of Mount Kisco, and then the towns of Lewisboro, Pound Ridge, North Salem, Yorktown, Somers, Cortland, all part of CD 17. That district also includes all of Putnam, all of Rockland, and a couple of towns in Dutchess County. In that area of Westchester County, the Democrats who live in that area, the Republicans who live in that area, and the conservatives who live in that area all will be voting in tomorrow's primary if they haven't voted already. So you must be either a registered Democrat or a registered Republican or a registered conservative in those communities to vote in your congressional primary. Those three parties will be selecting their nominees for the November ballot on those three party lines. You have a number of candidates running. I'm not going to list all their names. You can find that out by going online and checking any of the voting areas. You can find that out on our website through the Board of Elections. They'll show you the list of what candidates are running. So in the 17th district, the northern part of Westchester County, Democratic primary, Republican primary, Conservative primary for Congressional District 17. South of 287, Congressional District 16. That includes the city of Yonkers, the city of New Rochelle, the city of White Plains, city of Mount Vernon, and towns that include Eastchester with the villages of Bronxville and Tuckahoe, the town of Greenburgh, almost all of the town of Greenburgh. Does not include all of the village of Tarrytown, but it does include Dobbs Ferry, Irvington, Hastings, Elmsford, and Ardsley, plus the unincorporated part of Greenburgh, the town of Scarsdale, the city of White Plains, the city of Rye, the town of Rye, including the villages of Rybrook and Portchester, the town of Mamaroneck, including the villages of Larchmont and Mamaroneck, the aforementioned city of New Rochelle, Mount Vernon, Yonkers, and then also the town of Pelham with both of its two villages, Pelham Manor and Pelham Village. All of that is in CD 16. There's a section of the Bronx that's also part of CD 16. There will be a Democratic primary for Congress in that particular area. So if you're a registered Democrat, you can vote anywhere in those communities for your candidate for Congress in CD 16. And then finally, there is a primary in Senate District, State Senate District 34, which includes all of the town of Pelham, the villages of Pelham Manor and Pelham Village, and the southern half of the city of New Rochelle, roughly divided by I-95. As I-95 goes through sort of southwest to northeast, cuts through New Rochelle, everything south of that, it includes most of downtown, it includes neighborhoods like Sutton Manor and Residence Park and Davenport. Those areas are part of SD 34, along with all of Pelham. And that is a Democratic primary for the Senate seat. That is a reconfiguration of a seat that was structured a little bit differently before. It included Pelham, now it includes some New Rochelle, and it includes a significant portion of the Bronx. There are 3 candidates seeking the Democratic nomination in that district. So do a little homework. You know exactly where you stand and where you can vote. If you have not voted early, then you get the opportunity to vote in the primary as it comes up. Now, early voting has occurred now in New York State, and we have provisions to vote early over the course of 9 specific days. And I want to make sure that you know exactly how interestingly well, I think, Westchester County individuals voted. You have, I'm looking for the graphic, I believe it'll be up on the screen in a second, to show what the early voting totals were across the board. I want to try to reference those numbers if I can. I just have to locate them if you give me just a second. And it will show you that Westchester County had a significant amount of voting compared to comparable counties around the state. You'll see the 9 largest counties on the graph, and it will show you that Manhattan had the greatest total vote over the course of early voting. Brooklyn, the second largest amount. Westchester County was third, over 12,000 votes cast throughout the course of early voting in Westchester County, and that is more than the counties that fall below that, which include the County of Nassau, Erie County, which is the Buffalo area, Suffolk County, Queens, Staten Island, and the Bronx. Now, Westchester County has a lot less people than the Bronx, Suffolk, Nassau, Queens, and yet we had a tremendous turnout. So that's a statement about Westchester residents who understood what was at stake. Now, we have primaries that cover the county, but there are primaries all throughout these areas. If you watch television, they have some major primaries in Manhattan and Brooklyn, and that no doubt represents part of how well they did in terms of their turnout. But their numbers are roughly speaking 2 or 3 times what our numbers are, but their population base is much, much larger than that. So I think Westchester can be very proud of the numbers that they've achieved. And now we have the day of voting, and we have numbers that will come in from early voting, from the day of voting, and from absentee ballots. Those numbers together will give you the successful competitors in these primaries. It may take a few days before the absentee ballots are seen. Depending on the level of margin from day of voting and early voting will determine if these races are too close to call with the numbers that get reported right away, or if the numbers are so narrow that you have to wait for the absentee votes to come in. All of that will become apparent beginning tomorrow evening after the polls close at 9 o'clock. Once all of this is done, then you will know the ballot lineup for November. In November, here in New York State, you'll be voting for the United States Senate seat, currently held by Chuck Schumer, the governorship and lieutenant governor, which is voted on as a team statewide, state controller, state attorney general, member of Congress, members of the state Senate, state assembly. You have a number of judicial positions that are up. From the 9th Judicial District, we have a county court judge position that's open, and then there are some local races in local communities. Some villages elect in November, and there are some special elections in some communities to fill vacant seats on the town board or the city council. So as normally happens, there are a lot of different elections at hand. Many people turn all of this off, click. Most of those people are not watching this update. But the bottom line is, for those of you who want to cast an intelligent vote, at least you have a reminder that tomorrow's the day to vote, and do a little bit of homework and you should be set. So that covers the things that we wanted to cover today in our report. We're very appreciative of Catherine Chaffee and her team for putting some of this information together. And of course, Dana Levenberg, who was with us here from Austin, Ken Jenkins, congratulations again on your appointment. I don't know that we have any questions from the press, so the doors are always open. They can, any member of the press watching this has any questions for us, you can call us at 995-2932. We'll be happy to answer any additional information you have. Absent that, we thank you for watching. We hope you have a good, safe week ahead. Some rain will come to give us a little bit of relief. And if you can't get relief that way, then come out for one of the last 2 weekends at our pools and beaches. I'm George Latimer, Westchester County Executive. Thanks for watching, and have a good day.